Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in. Today, we're going to be looking at Bitcoin and kind of just floating the idea that's been floating around crypto YouTube and crypto Twitter of a possible correction. Now, I've seen reports or claims of calls of dropping down to $20,000 to the 20-week moving average to even further down from that. And when you look at those three options, it gets more and more absurd. Um, and to some degree, I would agree. When we look at the chart, where we are, how fast we got here, yeah, I mean, a correction is likely, as we haven't had one in quite some time. But I would argue that it's not 100%. And here I'm going to show you that there's still room to the upside if you can believe it. Do I believe it's going to continue to go up? Yes and no. I think, with that said, in my previous video of throwing TA out the window, I still believe in that idea that we're when we're past the prior all-time high, the market shifts into a different gear, and it becomes more and increasingly more erratic. Like the higher up we go past the prior all-time high, the more erratic we get, and it becomes a very dangerous market, but a very lucrative market at that. If you can stay disciplined and conservative, you can get out of it with your shirt still intact and a pocket full of cash. Uh, However, with that said, let's look at some of the indicators that kind of indicate, uh, that we're overextended. And so one of them is the RSI. So currently, right now, we're at an 87 on the RSI. When we were last time, we were here in the high 80s. We were here at this peak here in June, before we got back down to the 20-week moving average. The 2017 peak, the all-time high, was a 90, and the last time we've ever been beyond that in the high 90s was during 2013, where we saw these peaks here. We're at those levels now, and if this isn't an indication that we're overbought, then I don't know what chart you're looking at, because we're definitely in overbought territory. But when we go through this video, hopefully I can provide some insight to say that just because we're overbought doesn't mean we have to go back down. Okay, so let's move on. Let's look at the MACD. So the MACD is a momentum indicator. And you'll see on the weekly MACD that we're way past beyond 2019 peak. And we're now encroaching 2017 levels in terms of momentum. If again, another indication that we're really moving to the upside here, and a correction might be incoming. And lastly, we just want to look at no indicators, just the chart. I usually have my prices in log, but it's always sometimes nice to get a clear indication without the log and just look at that price acceleration there. That's insane. Whenever you see anything like that outside of cryptocurrency, even in cryptocurrency, honestly, uh, you would immediately think that a pullback's about to happen. And these are all true. However, I'm here to say that I'm going to play devil's advocate. And one way we're going to do that, and I think is one of the key ways, is to look at the price in relation to the 20-week moving average. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to use this indicator called distance to MA. And you set it to the 20-week, and you show the bars as percentages. So when we look at the Bitcoin chart, of the 2017 bull run. You see that we when we have these peaks to the 20 week, from like over the 20 week and back down, you see that the peaks are about 50% here. This was a 49%, 62%, 44%, 45, and we got to 106, to like 89, 106. We got to 72. And lastly, when we got high up, it was 149. Let's look at the 2019 run. This was just one big run. So let's look at the opening of the candle, and we're at 100. We're at 73. At some points, we were even higher than that, 83. And you can even say, well, this candle here is just a giant. It's a shooting star. So let's flip it to high and see where this takes us. And this was at 109, above the 20-week moving average. Where are we right now? Even with the high, we're at 64% above the 20-week moving average. And so yes, we've had indications of pullbacks to the 20-week moving average from here. Hell, we even had it at 40%. However, we are far, far away from it being over 100% above the moving average. And I think that would be my indicator. If we see Bitcoin start to come like over 100% above the 20-week moving average, that's when it gets even like cause for concern. I mean, there are some points where it was over 100%, like here. And we see it like above there, but it's when we get up to that point is when I get scared. Like at this moment here, if this were to happen again, I would get a little sheepish and probably sell a good chunk of my position there, because that's an indication that we're moving too high too fast. Remember, 20-week moving average is a lagging indicator. So in relation to that, if we're really high, and we're like high enough, we possibly get to recreate the peak of 2017 and the peak of 2019, or we get to a high point and then we just go through and we can't make that support. That is the fear. It's not the fear that we're going to go back to the 20-week. It's the fear that we're so high above the 20-week is when we crash so hard that we can't hold it at the 20-week. And when we don't hold it from the 20-week, then it's true capitulation, like we see here, like what we saw here. It could happen. However, we are far away from that. And when we look at the monthly, and we use the indicators that we were talking about on the weekly, about how far we are up and how overbought we are, we're not very close to the peaks of the RSI on the monthly. Like our peak was like 96. Here was like 96, 96. Wow. It's pretty accurate. It was on 96 RSI for each of the peaks. We're still pretty far away from it. So there's still a lot of room to grow. Is this a video that we're gonna go straight up? No, of course not. My argument is that Bitcoin is to some degree going into the phases of mania. This might be the first early stages of it. I was part of the 2017 bull run, but I was near the end. So mania was pretty insane. So I'm curious what first stages of mania are. And my theory is that when we pass the prior all-time high is the early stages of mania. And we could be seeing the early starts of it. And I think it'd be really interesting to see this go around and share with all you guys on how we see that. With that said, I think with more mania increases price velocity. And so that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to crash down. Um, Even on a weekly basis, uh, Bitcoin has been on this trend for a few months. What is in it to say for it to go a little longer? We could see a semi correction. I mean, people thought when we're at $20,000 here in the last couple weeks, we're holding this level. Like this move down to the $16,000 mark was the crash, and that's not a crash. We're waiting for that move to the 20-week, which will happen to some point. But for people calling it, like now or like soon, I think is a little preposterous because we don't know. And I would make the argument that, well, because we're over the 20-week, the $20,000 mark, I think gears are going to get shifted the longer we stay up here. The longer we stay up here, the gears are going to shift more, and price velocity is going to increase. So we'll see what happens. I'm not going to say that I'm 100% certain, because I'm not 100% certain on anything. But it'll be very interesting to see in the coming weeks, coming months, of Bitcoin being in this new phase of its cycle of being over $20,000, and the side party that I think people forget to mention is that the rally for the altcoins, which I think will come eventually, especially if Bitcoin holds $20,000. Anyway, that's all for today, you guys. Take care. Bye.